Hello and welcome to this beautiful video. I hope you have a beautiful day. Yes, today we are discussing how you can build a workplace inclusive team from scratch. You are just new, fresh from school. You have given this big task in this new company or new business area, and you are an inclusion officer, or you are a business owner, and most of these roles they will be falling on your shoulders, and or you are another officer at work who's interested in issues of inclusion, or you are a student of inclusion. This video is for you. It will help you to develop an inclusive team. The strategies that I'm going to give here, or the tips that are going to be to help you to be able to develop an inclusive team. This is a team that in schools we call school intervention team. It's actually a team of people who spearhead issues or matters or interventions that deal with inclusion. And of course, some people would also say inclusion and diversity within the workplace. Hello and welcome. I hope this video will help you. Okay, let's start off by looking at what we mean by workplace inclusion team. This is what in school we call school intervention team. This is essentially a team of people that would be spearheading activities or initiatives to do with inclusion within your workplace. Yeah, so basically it's a decision-making committee or team that would make decisions mostly about issues to do with inclusion. The team might be expert, but primarily the purpose of this team is to make collective decisions when it comes. Well, before we go into the composition of an intervention team or an inclusion team, let's say, why do you need this team? An inclusion officer cannot work alone in any setting. So anywhere you go, if there is an inclusion, there has to be an intervention team. That is the starting point. So the first thing that an inclusion officer has to establish as soon as he steps into the business is to establish that team. Now, in terms of what that team would do, the main purpose of that team, I said, is to make decisions on inclusion matters. And the reason why this inclusion officer needs a team or these experts is because he or she would be there to support these different departments. So he needs to have representatives from different departments so that whatever solutions that you come up with, they would be representing or assisting these different departments. So the team now would be people from these different departments that exist within the workplace. So basically the composition of an inclusion team or an inclusion team or an intervention team are the representatives from different sections of the workplace or different departments within the workplace. I'm quite privy with school intervention team because I've worked extensively in schools. So in school, for instance, you would have somebody representing the leadership. You would also have somebody representing maths and science department. You would have somebody representing languages department, somebody representing practical subjects, and you might also have somebody representing non-teaching departments, or what you call support departments, and other areas. So this is why I say when it comes to the composition of the inclusion team, the inclusion officer would know better. But just as a guide to you as an inclusion officer is that you don't have to, you have to include as many people as possible. Make sure that each and every section of the business is included, that you have a rep from each and every department, so that that person now would help in terms of guiding you on what you need to do. When you guide in terms of inclusion, whether they would also give you information from the different departments, what they need, what they don't need, what and all those things. So basically, you would need representatives from all the departments. Well, so far I have been giving background on workplace inclusion teams, workplace intervention teams. Also, we call it school intervention teams. We looked at what it is all about, why you need it, and the composition of that committee. I want to emphasize that often at times when you join a company, it doesn't have that team. And it's your duty as an inclusion officer now to come up with that team. And you want to have representatives from different departments so that you get to know what their needs are. And then as an officer now you can devise inclusion interventions, looking at the different needs that these departments are bringing in. And you work with this committee to come up with solutions. As an officer, you might be having expertise on inclusion, but you still need their input in terms of what they think should be done and all those things in terms of helping the departments address inclusion issues. So that is the workplace inclusion team or workplace intervention teams that you need to build as the first step. Now we are going to go on into the next step. In this next step, now we look at what exactly do you need to do in order to build or establish this team. I said you are starting from scratch. In my experiences, I've gone through many schools, I've taught in many schools, and every time I come in, I'll find that there is absolutely nothing. And you'll be lucky to find a leader who comes to you and say that we need help. Often at times, I was the one who had to face these people and tell them that you need this kind of setup. So the first stage that you need to do as an inclusion officer, once you step in, is to see the management or the leadership of the organization, and then you build what you call leadership buy-in. You meet the leaders, and then you sell your idea of wanting to start an intervention team within the workplace. You let them understand, you teach them to understand why you need a team. And then once the leadership gives you a go-ahead, you go to the next level. Now, the second step now that you would do is to now start selecting the people that you need within the team. Depending on, you might use the guidelines if there are any guidelines. Like in terms of education, you would have what you call the learner support guidelines. Unfortunately, I don't have that copy, but I know that in the Ministry of Education, there was that guideline which shows who are the people that you need to include in that team. Well, that guideline was not very helpful because I think initially it was not very informed, but I was also part of the group that looked at those guidelines and tried to correct them. The last time I was in touch, I got a draft of what would be the final guideline. But I think now it's out, the final guideline is available. So you can use that guideline to select the people that you want in that team. And like I said, if it's in the school, you would need the deputy school principal as the leadership rep. You would also need what you call head of departments, different departments. You would also need some expertise or experts from other different areas. You would also need a rep from parents association. You might need a rep from students and all those things. So the composition, if there's a guideline, that guide would lead you in terms of the composition, what the composition needs. But if you are, in as much as possible, what I was also doing was to try and get the people with a special education to make them part of that committee. Because if it is a school setting, for instance, we have somebody who specializes in visual impairment, somebody who specializes in hearing impairment. So you need those people as part of your team. So in as much as possible, even though you have guidelines, you would also need these people as part of your team. And now, after you have selected these people, most of these people would know nothing about inclusion. So you would have a group of people, but now these people are relying on you to say, why are we here? So you need now to go on to the next level now, which is step number 3 of teaching or train these people about what is inclusion, so that they can be able to go along with you. So you would train these people so that they understand what is the inclusion, because these are the people now who are going to be helping you. And what I used to do as part of training, I would also organize benchmark excursions where we would go to areas where inclusion was already practiced or schools where it was already established. And then when we get there, these people now would see different people that exist within this committee. They would share with us how they started, all those things. Usually I do benchmarking for my team, not for me. I already know what needs to be done, but just to show them that what we want to start here is already going on in some other places. I go there, I take them on a benchmarking excursion, and this is something that you also would need, like I said, as part of training of your team. And once you do that, you see that your team now start getting vibey. They want to start working now because they have seen their peers who are part of the school intervention team in other schools, and now they realize this thing is working and it can actually be started. And so, but training in inclusion, it doesn't stop. You'd continue training, you'd continue mentoring and coaching your team as you move on. And you would also learn a lot of things, maybe from parents and all those things, those people actually. So this is the team that you will learn from, and a team that will also learn a lot from you. So the next thing now, like I said, now once you have broken those first barriers, you have gotten the leadership go ahead, you have selected your people, you have gone out on mentoring, on benchmarking exercise, now you are ready to start. So for you to start this committee, you need to be having regular meetings at first. Regular meetings, workshops for you to train them on what needs to be done and all those things. So these are the first initial steps. But I want to say, for a very successful team now for this team now to be maintained and to continue doing a great job for you, you need to have regular meetings. You need to have in-service training of your staff on different aspects of inclusion. You also need to have what you call motivation for this team. You need to be having team building exercises time and again. You also need to have rewards for this team that we have. In such a way, you will also be able to build a very successful inclusion teams. Inclusion teams are very, very key for any organizations to thrive. These are the people now that you always come back to say, we have a situation, what can we do? We have a child who's like this and that, probably, and how can we help in this situation? These are the people now who will be taking you, as who would be walking the walk with you. Yes, in this video we have been discussing how to build a workplace inclusive team from scratch. We assume that you are coming straight from the university. You have gotten this job as an inclusion officer in this company, or you are the company owner or the business owner. You want to set up an inclusive or inclusion team within your workplace or your business, or you are a student of inclusion. You want to know how you can set up this particular team. This is a team of people now who will be spearheading activities to do with inclusion in the workplace. And I said the composition of this team depends on the setting of the workplace, but essentially what you want to do, or how you compose this team, is like you have reps from different departments. You want to be as representative as possible because you want to know or have insights about what is happening in every department, what are their needs, especially so that you can be able to help them with inclusive solutions. The purpose of this team is essentially to come up with solutions collectively as a team. Yeah, so that is why you need people from different departments who would now be fitting you or for you to be able to come up with solutions. So I said the first thing that you need to do is to mobilize the leadership in your organization, to teach them, to make them aware and appreciate why you need this particular team. And if they buy in your story, they will give you a go-ahead. Now, after you get a go-ahead, the next thing is to select the people that you need in your team. You might select, if you know people, the best criterion really that I used to use myself is that, because these people are not people who are trained, especially in inclusion, I would go for people who are interested in inclusion from different departments. If there are people who are willing to volunteer to join this team, the better, because you don't want people who would be just there because because of work. So if you can get volunteers, that's better, much better. So you get volunteers from different departments. These are people who are going to be feeding you in this particular team, and then so you select those people to form that particular team. And then from there, the next step is to go on benchmarking. Benchmarking is for your team now to get to see what each one of them, because in that team, each one of them would be having a role. And so when you go on a benchmarking, you go to a setting that is closer or to what you want to build in your team. So each and every member should be able to see himself in that organization, and so that he or she can appreciate what will be his role now when he starts working. Now after benchmarking, you start to work. So your work would mainly be more and more meetings, so that especially at an initial stage you need to do regular meetings so that you keep abreast with what is happening. You also inform your people, you also coach and mentor them so that they can be able to grasp what needs to be done. So basically you would start off by mainly coaching and mentoring, and as much as they will be feeding you like that. And Basically, that is how you start this particular team from scratch. And what I'm sharing here is what I've been doing. I have set up inclusive teams or school intervention teams in about 5 schools that I went to. I didn't find anything. I had to start from scratch. I hope this video helps you a lot. If you have any questions, you have any comments, please share those in our on this video. Also subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our updates. Thank you very much and hope to see you